Good evening. I did. That's why I said I don't think she did. But I'll move because. Oh, excuse me.
It is 7 o'clock and we have a quorum, so I will call the Board of Commissioners to order, and if you will, bow with me in a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you each day for the opportunity that you give us to serve you first of all, and then our fellow man. We just ask that any decisions that we make here tonight would be in the best interest of all the citizens of Scotland County. And we just pray for your guidance, Lord, in all that we do. And we offer a special prayer tonight, Lord, for one of our colleagues, Mr. John Alford, whose wife passed away this past Friday. We just ask that you would be with him and family and give them peace and understanding as to what takes place. And these things we ask in your most holy name. Amen. We'll stand with you. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
7 to the end of the meeting, and we, at that time, will go into closed session to consult with our attorney. With that change, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, we have our public forum. We have vote for North Carolina, Ms. Ursula Quick and April McCoy. Are they here?
I am a licensed clinical social worker, and what our program in North Carolina does is we find resources and teach them coping mechanisms to help them handle the stress from the storm, and it's so free to the community. I originally spoke with you. I originally wanted to speak with you all about the sheltering and temporary essential program, the STEP program. And long-term recovery group, LTRG, was trying to get that enacted here in Scotland County. I figured since Scotland County did not have the LTRG group, is the reason that it didn't get the STEP program. So the STEP program has gotten an extension until February the 10th, and it's possible if we get another extension. The STEP program helps fix homes, and they also make it safe for people to live in the storm. Since I originally spoke with Ms. Poe, we have gotten the LTRG started. We have appointed a chair, a vice chair, which is myself, and a secretary. Our next meeting for the LTRG is Wednesday, February 6th, from 10 to 11:30 a.m. and 108 Hill Street at the Church of Community Center. And we would love for you all to attend. LTRG has done wonders for Robinson County. People from all over the state come and donate to the program. I know because I've attended one of the programs. LTRG will be a great resource for Stockton County. It is also a great cause to donate to. I have seen firsthand the devastation that still exists here in Stockton County, and the long-term recovery is very much needed. It's very much needed program.
My name is Alicia Jones, and as she was saying, her record is Miss Erica Quick. She's going to be passing out pictures of some of the information that we've gotten in some of the homes. We canvass the community. We work really closely with other community agencies such as Church of Community. We've done some work at DSS and NC Works. So we're on the ground letting people know we're here. And one of our main concerns was that we've driven around in the Stockton County area and noticed that in the rural areas, there are still people that are displaced due to flooding. As you all know, the storm did come September of last year, but we also received a considerable amount of rain still since the storm. And so individuals are still displaced. There's still areas that need our help. And the main thing we wanted to bring attention to is the flooding in those areas, and find out who we need to get in contact with, and working with our co-worker, Ms. April, in the LTRG program that she's going to be working with to kind of bring some light to those situations and see if there's anything we can do to basically maybe get some of that area, maybe work on the irrigation, I'm not sure exactly, but trying to get those areas cleared out so people can get back home. Those are still areas out there, and a lot of people think, because the main town of Warrenburg isn't underwater anymore, that people may not have those needs, but there's still needs out there for people that are still going through. So we just want to bring some light to that. And if you guys just want to take a look at those pictures and stuff like that, it kind of gives you an idea of what we've seen in the community.
We thank you for coming before us. Anyone have any questions?
I like to say that we are well aware of, not maybe all of it, but we are quite aware of the flood situation in Scotland County. You know that their homes are in poor condition with all the water surrounding it. And if you all can lend a helping hand and help us figure out how we can help these individuals, we'd be very, very happy to work with you, I'm sure.
Yes, that's what we're trying, it's been so many people that we come in contact with, and I've written a list of certain people that really need our help, people that's living in one side of their home and different things. And that's why I was wanting to get the LCRG started here in South County, so we can help get it started.
Have you met with our county manager? Okay, well, I'm sure the chairman will tell you what to do, how you go about meet with the county manager and so he can discuss what we've done and what we need to do and all that, Mr. Chairman.
If you would just contact, since he's the clerk, Mr. Kevin Patterson, his phone number is 277-2410. And just give him a call and make an appointment, come sit down and talk to him. And he can tell you what we're doing and the help that you can give, and we would appreciate it, as Ms. Biggie said.
What's the last four digits?
The last four digits.
2410.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Yeah.
And that's the same building, he's in the same building. Lynn Poe, I think you said you met her. He's in that same building, okay? All right.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
And you also have some of their information at your location as well. And there's additional packets for anybody in the audience who wants some of their information or flyers on the table by the agenda.
The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, Regina Dean.
Hello to you all.
Hey, how are you
Thank you for
tonight?
your service to this community. Normally, when I am addressing the county commissioners, I am Regina Dees, and for the purposes of Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, my address is 212 Crawley Street in Court Counsel's office. Normally, when I come to talk to county commissioners, I want money from you. I don't want any money. I will always take anything that you'll give us. In your package, you have a resolution that each county has been asked to present to the commissioners, and it's about the raising of the juvenile age, which becomes effective December 2019. And the resolution is about the impact it's going to have on this county and the way we look at how we provide service to that population. Up until, well, in December, what changes is that the service providers for that population changes from the adult system to the juvenile system because the age goes to 18. Now it's to 16. And with that, you have certain problems that come to those providers for that population. And what we would like is that the commissioners would adopt this resolution that we can send to Raleigh. What the resolution says is that you recognize that there will be a change in service levels, that we will have to have new programming for this population, and that the state is probably going to give us more money and that you will receive that money. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you think that's wonderful? They're going to hopefully give us more money to address the needs for that population. And the resolution shows to our legislative delegation from this county and all the other counties is that we know that we have a need and that that money needs to come, part of that money needs to come to Scotland County. That's what the resolution is about. So, and you have that in your packet. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. I would actually like to go away with it signed today if I could, or this afternoon. That takes the chairman's signature and the clerk of the board's signature. And I'll stay around to the end of the meeting if I have to get it.
Ms. Dees, is it your understanding that all counties are being presented with a similar resolution? Do you know?
Every county. Every county's been, And a lot of them have already been signed and were presented to Raleigh this week. So,
That's good.
okay. Any other questions about the resolution?
I have a question, I'm not sure how to ask it.
Pass.
You're talking about the cost of serving the juvenile population, and there will be a greater juvenile population because of the expanded age groups.
Correct.
Do you have any idea what the increase in the cost of the services will amount to?
I know that presently we receive in excess of $152,000 through JCPC money to take care of the population under 16. Those children that are deemed to be at risk of going into the juvenile justice system. The adult system would have to give us those numbers, and I don't have those numbers, but I can track that down and we can send them to you if you'd like me to. Or if you come to our legislative branch on the 25th, I'll have those figures for you.
So I set you up for that, so you can bring that to our attention.
That's the way it works.
I think there's going to be a tremendous increase in cost, much more than just the funds that that goes through JCPC.
Well, there's going to be a cost of every one that intersects with that population to the courts, law enforcement, schools, social work. Everybody's going to be impacted. But the resolution is about the money that the legislative body is going to send here.
You talk about the money from the state.
From the state.
How much is that?
I don't know. We're just asking them. This is saying that we know we will need extra funds. They have a formula that they set up to give us the $156,000 that we get. And they're going to be changing that formula based on how it expands our population. And they're still in the process of making that happen.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the resolution.
Okay, I have a motion that we approve the resolution. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a second. Any more discussion?
I'm going to add another request to Commissioner Gibson's request. If you are able to determine the amount, I know that's going to be a challenge. On average, do you have any idea how many additional individuals this means for Scotland County?
I don't know. Well, there'll be a savings in some areas because these young folks that would normally go to the jail here won't be going to the jail. They'll be going to a detention center in Cumberland County, Hope County.
And there'll be probation officers that are not serving those.
Right. The state's still going to be paying those salaries, but it's somebody else. But the thing about it is that the county does have to pay half of the money for a child to be housed in a detention center. So that's the cost. There's a savings to the jail, but there's still going to be a cost to the county.
That's right, big deal. And we don't pay that half for adults, right?
The county would have to bear the cost of transportation too.
No, the state will transport. State transportation.
Well, we need to pass the resolution, but there's a lot more to be learned.
Again, if y'all pass the resolution, you've got in your packet an invitation to our brunch, legislative brunch that we're having. We'll have someone from Raleigh on that day, Cindy Portfield, that will be talking about the Juvenile Justice Act, which is what brought into place the raising of the juvenile age, and she will have all those statistics for Hope, Scotland, and Robinson on that day and how it's going to impact, and she can tell you what they are the request of the money that they're presenting to the legislative body to come back to the individual county. She'll have those answers.
One more question. Do you have any idea about what the cost of the county would be?
Well, I can't tell you what the cost of the county would be. There's going to be a cost to public education, law enforcement, all those different entities. But the cost that I know about for the county, for the juvenile population we presently serve, is the cost about detention centers. And with our JCPC money, you don't put any money into that. You get in-kind office space, so that kind of cost is there. I don't know that the state will be asking that the county do anything regarding the money. It's a 10% match now, and it can be in-kind. And that's how Scotland County handles it. They give a 10% match in office space and those.
When is the legislative meeting? When is it?
The brunch is February 25th.
Where?
It will be at First Presbyterian Church.
I think I've read, I'm sorry.
You've got one in your package.
Okay.
We will have, I've already had 2 of our senators commit to be there. Charles Graham and Garland Pierce will be there. Garland is actually going to be, not in his legislative capacity, but represent the faith community, talking about how the partnership needs to happen to make these things happen for the county. The school superintendent will be there talking about how this is going to impact them. Sheriff Person will be there talking about law enforcement. So there'll be a lot of the answers that you keep asking the questions, the answers will be there if you're able to get them.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve this. Is there any more discussion? And all in favor of approving this resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Instead of waiting around, can I get it from Kevin tomorrow? Thank you.
I need an approval for the consent agenda. Motion.
So moved.
Got a motion there, second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Presentation from East Point.
There we go. Okay, good evening. My name is Sarah Stroud, and I am the CEO of East Point. I had the pleasure of meeting you probably about a year ago, a little over a year ago. So thank you for allowing me to join you this evening to update you on East Point and what we're doing in Scotland County. My presentation is a little bit lengthy, but I promise that I'm going to go through it quickly and then allow you some time to ask questions should you have them. Each of you should have received an annual report from East Point, and you may have it in front of you tonight. I am not going to walk you through the annual report, but rather focus on results and activities in Scotland County, and then if you have questions about the annual report, I would be happy to address those. So, just to begin, I'm going to cover a number of topics. They may not seem like they're related, but they all are. But we'll talk about several different things, including operations in Scotland County, how we're performing in terms of member service, our provider network, the investments we've made in Scotland County, some of the activities during Hurricane Florence, and then finally, Medicaid transformation and where we are with that. So, and this information I shared when I was here before, I'm just updating it. Right now we have about 284 employees at East Point. We have 4 locations. Our administrative offices are in Beulahville, which is Duplin County. We have offices in Robeson County, Rocky Mount, and Kinston. There are 3 employees who live in Scotland County who work in our Lumberson site. The financials that you see are for fiscal year 19. We have a budget just over $300 million, $317 million. Of that, 277 is made up of Medicaid dollars. The rest of the funding is state, federal, and local. Our fund balance stands at $112 million, but I always caveat that. That sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and it is. But of that amount, there is only 14 million that is not assigned through, statutory requirements that we have as a local governmental entity. But the budget number is fiscal year 19, and the unassigned fund balance is as of December of 18. So that's the most recent fund balance number we have. Then to kind of dive down into Scotland-specific numbers, you'll see on the pie chart, as I'm facing it on the left-hand side, out of our total pie of covered lives, Scotland represents 5%. Actually, it's, that's 5%. And then when we look on the next page, for the amount of claims we pay to the total, we pay 6% of our total claims for Scotland. So it lines up pretty close with the population. Actually, we pay a few more claims than what the population represents. This slide just shows the total dollars that were paid for the 17 and 18. And you see we paid just over 12 million in fiscal year 17 up to 13.2 in fiscal year 18. So there were an increase in claims that were paid for Scotland County members. In the box down below that, that's the amount of funding that Scotland County provides to East Point, $72,000. Part of that goes to fund Monarch and the ADVP program, the Adult Developmental Vocational Program, and the other part goes to Southeastern Regional for outpatient, inpatient, and crisis services. For fiscal year 18, there were 1,900 members that received a Medicaid service, and your whole population for Medicaid here in Scotland County is just over 14,000. State-funded services, 364 people in Scotland County during fiscal year 18. We have an Access to Care call center that's located in Lumberton. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we answered 1,657 calls from members during fiscal year 18. And what that call center does, just to speak about that for a moment, if someone is in crisis, they can call the call center. If their needs are not urgent, then they're referred to a provider and seen within 2 weeks. If the need is emergent, then they're seen within 2 hours with a mobile crisis unit that is sent to the person as if they accept that service. So depending on the severity of the need, we're able to address it with the call center. Then just a second to not pat ourselves on the back too much, because there's always work to be done, but just to let you know about the quality of service that we provide. In fiscal year 18, we have a number of state benchmarks that we're measured on every month, and we exceeded all those benchmarks. Those are calls answered, complaints resolved, hospital readmits assigned to care coordination, and then our claims processed within 30 days. The claims processing is really critical because providers are the lifeblood in the communities, and they need their money turned around quickly. We do a very good job with that. Another thing we're really proud of this year, there was a survey done of the members, and it breaks down the ages that were surveyed there. But they were asked about our provider services, our outreach, our responsiveness. And I'm not going to detail these graphs, but I just want to show you. East Point continues to outperform all the other LME MCOs in the state by nearly every measure. And you can see East Point is the purple line on these graphs. I'm not going to delve into that. You'll have this later, but you'll see we are exceeding all the other MCOs. Choice of providers. Got your service in the time frame that met your needs. Gave you as much information as you need. So we were really, really pleased with those results. The next piece is a little bit about our provider network. As you recall, We used to be an area program, we used to provide the services many moons ago, but in 2005, we divested of services by state requirement, and now our services are through a network of providers. We have over 340 providers in our network that are eligible to serve members in your county. Specifically in Scotland County, we have 17 provider agencies, of course, 1 hospital. Out of those providers, 3 of them accept walk-in appointments. And here is just a list of some of the services that are not provided in brick and mortar locations. Sometimes we get hung up on where's the building that does whatever. We do have those, but we also have a number of services, as you can see, that are delivered to the members in the communities. Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions as I'm moving through this. We also have, we're transitioning to whole person care, behavioral health and physical. And right now, we're serving over 1,100 members with our hospital transition team, which addresses people coming in and out of the hospital. Currently, there is no wait list for behavioral health services in Scotland County, but there are 8 people from Scotland County who are on the innovations waiver list. And as you know, that's a list that is ongoing, and there are people from every county on that wait list. The funding for that is expensive and it's limited. Some of the things that we have been able to do in Scotland County since I was here to update you last, the first one is a really big one. We did a $2 million rate increase for all 8 outpatient providers, including the 14 in Scotland County. And then I'm just going to run through some of the things, some of the activities that are done in the community. William Sellers is with us tonight from East Point. I'm sure you know William, and a lot of the credit for these activities goes to William and our community relations team. They do a great job on the ground. So we did mental health first aid for adult and youth. 50 people there graduated. There was a faith-based conference on stress and mental health. 86 people representing 5 area churches were there. There was a March for Life at St. Andrews University that we participated in. There were 3 opioid-related education events open to the general public. We've done crisis intervention training, or you may know it as CIT training, and we had 2 people from Scotland County participate. We continue to work and support the Substance Use Network and donated 155 Narcan kits to help prevent opioid overdoses. I believe William said he was out delivering those today as well. We continue to get those. So in fiscal year 18, we made presentations at 19 events, reaching more than 1,500 people, and attended 52 community events like collaborations and that type of thing. Okay, Hurricane Florence. I know the people who were here were speaking about that, and it's the hurricane that just doesn't seem to go away. But East Point was very much on the ground during the hurricane. You probably know some of these numbers already, but in the shelters that were in our 10-county catchment area, at one point there were over 9,000 people. We contacted the shelters from East Point 236 times during and after, and helped deliver the care to the shelter residents through our providers. We had 29 staff, 5 providers who were in the shelters and logged over 431 hours. After the storm was over, there was a program called Back to Home. East Point provided 3 staff to that program, and then we had 8 providers. And the purpose of that is to help people transition from shelters back into the community. We spent over $800,000, and there you can kind of see the breakdown of how that went in terms of actual physical plant and services. And of course, it wasn't so very long ago that we dealt with Hurricane Matthew. There were lessons learned from that, and I think helped us prepare in advance. Of course, this storm was a little different from Matthew. We had a couple of days warning, and we already had people in place, providers tagged to be in the shelters, and we knew where our members were, where they needed to go, made sure that first responders knew about those members. So when power-dependent folks was an issue, they knew. Okay, any questions about that before I move into a brief discussion about Medicaid transformation? You're hanging with me really well, I appreciate that. So, Medicaid transformation. This is something that we've known would be coming, and we're excited about it because it addresses the whole person, behavioral and physical care. And in the fall, there were RFPs issued for what is known as standard plans. The standard plans will take the physical health and the behavioral health for Medicaid members who have mild to moderate issues. Just to remind you, the LME MCOs have been handling the behavioral health for all populations, mild to moderate and the more severe. When the standard plans begin coming online, they will take the mild to moderate members. The LME MCOs will continue to provide the behavioral health for the severe cases, as well as IED and traumatic brain injury needs, until 2021, 1 year after the standard plans. When this slide was done, there were going to be 4 statewide commercial plan contracts and up to 10 regional provider-led entities. Today, they actually released the names of those awardees. That was the RFP was issued back in the fall, and today was actually the day they released the names. And I'll see if I can do it from memory. The ones that received the contracts were Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, AmeriHealth, I'm missing one, WellCare. WellCare was the 4th one. And then Carolina Complete is the only provider-led agency that was selected. So those first 4 I named will cover the entire state, and Carolina Complete received a couple of regions that the state has been broken down to. I think I may have a slide that says this, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But those will be phased in. The first phase of the standard plans will begin in November of this year. And the regions selected for that first phase in is not our county. It's more the middle of the state and a little bit west. So we will come online in February of next year. So almost a year from now, the mild to moderate populations will move to these standard plans. And we'll continue business as usual until they launch. Then the tailored plans, which is what the current LME MCOs will be transitioned to, tailored plans. And we will handle the behavioral and physical health for the most severely impaired. By law, it says that there will be 5 to 7 tailored plans. Currently, there are 7. We hope that our legislators will see fit to retain 7 tailored plans. The indication we get that they will, but we certainly hope that you will help us advocate for that. The initial term for the tailored plans will be 4 years. So about this time next year, the application process for the tailored plans is slated to be laid out, and we will apply. We do not have to bid, but we do have to apply, and the awards will be made according to the timeline now next May, which would be 2020, and then for operation beginning in 21. We do expect some additional news about the regions selected for the tailored plans. We've been promised that in a couple of weeks, and the indication we got from the department last week is that there would be 7 regions. So we hope they leave our counties as they are, but we will see in a couple of weeks. And then I already spoke when the applications are due. Here's a timeline. I pretty much went through that already in terms of when the regions launch and when the standard plans launch. So it's going to be definitely a time of change for us as organizations, but even more so a time of change for our members as they begin receiving their care management through different organizations. So I'd like to take any questions you have, but I would also like to leave you with an ask, and that is, would you please share your support for East Point to transition to the tailored plan with the Department of Health and Human Services, with your representatives in the General Assembly, and then also with the commercial plans as they are in your communities getting launched. So I believe that is all I have, except for a huge thank you for your time and attention. I know this is a lot of information very quickly. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I think it might be helpful if you would educate us on if East Point was not selected for the plan, how that would impact the 10 counties that are in the East Point catchment area, and how we believe how important it is for us to be selected.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm not sure I can completely answer, but I can answer it in a speculative way. If East Point were not selected to be one of the 7 NCOs, let's say they selected 5, then they would take our counties and likely divide them up to the other tailored plans. They might move all 10 of our counties to one of them, or they might split us geographically. As you know, East Point cares about its communities. We care about our counties, we care about the people we serve, and have very close relationships with our counties. The other thing that we take very seriously is our relationship with our providers. We try to take very good care of them, make sure they're paid on time, make sure they have technical assistance. So we believe that East Point adds value in our community, in our counties. So, and we have that philosophy and culture as an organization. The other thing I think that's important is also the people that are employed in southeastern North Carolina by East Point. If another plan were given our members, then likely the employees that we have in eastern North Carolina would be served by employees in others. Did I miss anything here? I think those are the key things. Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
The bottom left PowerPoint, a little bit down. Yes.
Got it. You want me to do it the full thing?
Slide again.
Yep. You want me to advance it? You got it?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Kevin, Southeast Community and Family Service.
This is an annual item that's recurring each year. Southeast has to, well, anytime they're reapplying for the CSBG grant, that they need to seek comments from the Board of Commissioners in any area that they serve. So we have a copy of the application that basically if you have any review or any comments, if you let me know, we can forward those on. We have a little bit more time if there's comments, but this is an annual item for them.
That was the application that was in our packet.
Yes.
You don't need that tonight.
No, sir. And there's no specific board action required.
Listen, FYI.
Yes.
Any questions, Kevin? All right.
I have some questions. I have to go back to the meeting again.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members Scott County Board of Commissioners. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Matt McDougal. I'm chairman of the Scott County Fire Commission. I've been chairman of it since 2012. We're in the short rows of our substations going into operation. It's been a long, drawn-out process. At the December Fire Commission meeting, it was voted on and approved unanimously to give the North Substation to Spring Hill Fire Department. They had the trucks to put in it to meet the requirements, and Laurel Hill did not. We had to have 2 trucks at that station because of hydrant coverage, and Spring Hill had the trucks that would pass inspection. When we were thinking it was going to be Laurel Hills, they started trying to get a truck ready to go up there, but without a tanker to go up there, and it has to be from the same fire department. We couldn't get one from somebody else. It had to be from the fire department that has the substation. So when we met in December and gave the substation to Spring Hill on a unanimous vote, Clyde at the end in the open discussion asked about a bill he had on the old pumper, Unit 31. They had carried it to try to get it to meet the specs, the pump test and all for that substation. Kelly's garage in Laurel Hill did the work on it. I have copies of the bill that Clyde gave them out to you. It's $1,401.08. Laurel Hill was trying to fix the truck for that substation, so we brought it on the floor of the fire commission to see what we could do to get the bill paid. And Neil Shaw made a motion that we bring it before the county commissioners. Donnelly seconded the motion. It passed with no problem, and there was no objections to it. So we're here tonight to ask if you would be willing to approve payment of that $1,400 out of the county fire fund. This is next to the last hurdle on the substations. Thursday, they're going to be inspected. The 9S inspection. Martinburg's is that morning, Spring Hills is that afternoon. I will be at both of them, so the fire commission is represented and we know what's going on with it. We see no problems. We think they're both ready. We think we will get through the inspection in good shape. Then it'll just be a matter of waiting on the state insurance office to get the paperwork complete, so the property owners can lower their insurance rates.
I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Mac, is it the recommendation from the fire commission that the $1,401 be paid out of the fire tax fund?
Yes, sir.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
And you look like you're doing a little better than you had been doing.
And I know all y'all are like we are. We're glad this long process is coming to an end and we're giving the citizens what we had promised them.
We all
Thank you.
Clyde, is this, when he's talking about this 31, is that the old front pump, the front mounted pump truck? Is that the truck we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Will it pass pump test now? Will it pump test? Will it pass the test now?
No, we got to a certain point and we quit, because...
I'm just curious.
Kelly's garage had got the truck running for us because it had been sitting for a while. So he got it running for us. And then pump test would be the next thing. And we had more work to do than the pump test. But, so he gave me the bill for what he had done. And, I know there was a misunderstanding, I'm sure, but Mr. Davis told me one night at the fire commission meeting, go ahead and take the truck shorty and bring me the bill. But now he didn't say y'all would pay the bill. He just told me to bring me the bill, and I brought him the bill. So that happens from time to time when people misunderstand.
Go a little bit further. I did what I told you I would do. I was in same question. And he said there was no provision in that to pay for it out of fire trucks. So then I told you that same thing, that there was no provision in there to pay for it.
All I know is, you know,
I know.
I don't, you know, what I was told, bring your bill, that's what I done, just force the bill.
I did tell you, bring the bill, I'd see if I could get it paid out of the fire tax.
But if you will notice on the bill was, he gave me that bill on August 28th or the 18th or 3
August 22nd.
22nd. And so we got to the point where we had to pay the bill, because
So the bill's
the
paid
county was
now.
gonna pay for it or not, so we went ahead and paid him on, what, January the 22nd?
January 22nd.
And, so the bill's been paid.
You're just looking for a reimbursement back to the department. You're looking for it to be reimbursed back to the department. They've already paid the bill.
That's right.
And what's gonna happen if the pumper don't pass? It's wasting money, but
If the bumper doesn't pass test, what will happen to it? I mean, what's gonna happen?
what's the next step?
The next step, in other words, to get it to pass the pump test.
The North Fire Substation is being served by vehicles that are already certified. So that doesn't have any bearing on certification or insurance rates.
There's not going to be any more work done on this truck because it is not going to be used. Is that correct?
That's right.
It was really a thing where we were trying real hard to not hold up this 9S inspection and get stuff in those stations to get them open. And, the fire commission is totally in favor of it.
Any more questions on that?
And one thing, just, I have no policy, no procedures for doing repairs on fire trucks like this. So that's why there's nothing I can do about it without board action.
Now, Kevin, I'm just saying this, now we setting up on President Day, in repairs, if they take it, and take it out from the unions, PO number to get stuff fixed.
That
We're
would
gonna pay for it, we're gonna set up, because it's gonna carry on to the next one.
Unless the board goes off and says that, unless you develop a strategy, my answer is going to continue to be no, that we're not going to fund. Now, does that mean somebody else another fire department might come to you looking for special needs? They absolutely might, but they've not come in that pattern in the past. But unless you develop a strategy, my answer is going to be no on most of these requests.
I think I see where Commissioner Crab's going, and I don't disagree with him. It's my understanding, let me word it differently. I guess my hesitation is that we've got fire trucks better suited to go into these substations than the one that we spent some money on repairing.
Well,
and ultimately what occurred is the fire commission, through the conversation, decided that Spring Hill may be better equipped to do that, and that's why the change was made. But by that time, Laurel Hill Fire Department had already begun trying to repair one that would have gone to the north substation had we proceeded in that direction. I guess what I would like to say is just if we vote to approve the payment of this from the fire tax fund, I don't think that should give any fire station carte blanche to go out there and spend whatever they want to repair any of their existing trucks. We've replaced so many, and this all started before I became commissioner. Y'all did a great job of deciding how you were going to do it and the ones you were going to replace. And we're pretty sufficiently into that rotation that we ought not to be having to spend a lot of money, county money, to repair fire trucks that we probably won't use in service. Is that a correct statement? Am I understanding that fairly?
I don't think that this would pay for this truck then. It was strictly for a county-owned substation. And then it was learned it would not work because we didn't have a tanker to put in it. We've got to have 85% hydrant coverage to get by with just one truck to get a substation through the inspection. And they don't have that up there. So we don't pay for repairing trucks. And this truck was not an active truck of Ball Hill Fire Department. It was trying to be fixed to put up there. Any money, as y'all know, that is spent by a fire department has to come before the fire commission first. And the proposal made to us, we vote on it, and if it passes, then it is brought to you, the commissioners, to make the final decision on. So I don't think, in my way of looking at it, that this will in any way cause problems with taxpayers' money. We're just going to be clearing out something that probably shouldn't have happened, but it was, again, trying to get these substations open and in operation and lower the people's insurance.
I think what I also heard Commissioner Gibson saying in his way that we don't want to create a precedent that we're doing something today that can be expected to be done next month, 6 months, 2 years from now. That this is a situation that just sort of stands alone, very unusual circumstances in the whole process of getting our county covered with the fire services that we want them to have in all the different places. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve this request.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. If we approve.
I got a question.
Yes.
I don't have no problem against this at all. And I understand this guy wants to be paid, like I say, we pay. Now, if we decide to, this truck is just going to be like an antique truck, right?
That's right.
And if we decide to sell it, do we kind of get our money back from the sale? I mean, they might sell this truck next year. We just waste, I ain't gonna say waste, but we just utilize $14 million. But I'm even saying, we get some of our money back if we sell it. I know it's just, probably just auction it off. I mean, it's an antique style truck. Well, it ain't fair to the taxpayer to just take the truck and fixing it for somebody to sell. But they ain't like gonna buy a truck not running. I wouldn't buy that.
I think that maybe most of you don't understand what the situation was. We had to have 2 trucks up at that station. We did not have a pumper and a tanker in Laurel Hill that we could put up there. But we didn't know at the beginning that both trucks had to come from Laurel Hill. Well, we knew we couldn't take our tanker because we didn't have one, so we couldn't send it up there. So what the Fire Commission was trying to do was to get a pumper and a tanker to go up there. Well, we had that pumper that we could do some work to. Get it to go as a pumper, and they had talked about getting a tanker from Stewartsville, I believe, one that they didn't need to take it there. So that would give us the 2 trucks we need. Then we found out both trucks has got to come from whichever department is in charge of that substation, and so I didn't have 2 trucks to take up there. But Springfield did. So that's why we initially spent money on that truck, because we were trying to get 1/2 of what had to be up there. And that's why we spent the money on it.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
I'm not sure that Mr. Better got an answer. If you had a buyer for the truck, somebody pays you $2,000 for it, and you're all willing to get rid of it, where would that money go?
Say that again.
If the truck was sold for $2,000, where would that money go? Would it go in the Laurel Hill Fire
I mean,
Department?
truck that we worked on?
Yeah.
that money would actually go to our hill because that truck was given to our hill by the county when we bought a new truck. Well, when the county bought us a new truck in '97, they gave us the old truck. They gave everybody their old truck. And so that was our truck, and we kept ours and kept it running and kept using it, you know. So the title is somewhere in Laurel Hill's name. I think I was told that somebody at the county level has it, but we do not have it in Laurel Hill. But we did have the title for one of the old ones that gave us, when it gave us two at one time.
Well, I think it was a good question.
So we sold that truck because it was a Laurel Hill truck, and just like this truck too.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mike, y'all wait just a minute. I want to be real sure that there's no doubt in what I said when I talked to Clyde. Clyde said we had to get it fixed, to take it up there, to have that. And I told Clyde, I said, well, when you get it fixed, if you'll bring me a copy of the bill, I will see if I can get it paid. And that was the gist of the conversation between Clyde and me, and that's where it came from. Okay, thank y'all.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Clyde. All right. Resolution.
The next item is a resolution that was approved by the Board of Education seeking additional authority in establishing the school calendar. This is something that I believe most boards of education are requesting, and I believe it is also one of the Association of County Commissioners' legislative goals.
It is. I spoke with Dr. Hargrave about this when he had, when the school district had a legislative breakfast with Representative Pierce. Just for the benefit of our commissioners and others in the audience, I learned two things at that meeting about the school calendar. It's been an issue for the association for a number of years because right now in North Carolina we have a mandated start date and a mandated end date. And we're only one of 2 states in the country that has a required end date. And we're one of 14 states with a mandated start date. So our school districts are very restricted in how they get their required number of instructional hours or 185 days of instruction into the school year. It really came to light because of all the missed days that have been lost as a result of the hurricanes that we've had in the last 2 years. Many school systems lost 20, 30 days, and there was no way for them to make it up because of the mandate beginning and end dates. All 100 school districts are requesting the resolution to allow school districts to have flexibility in starting and ending school. They want to align with the community colleges, and they think it will also help with developing workforce development. And it is a goal of the association in public education, support legislation providing flexibility to align the K-12 and community college calendars. So just want to give you that background information, and hopefully our board will see that we need to approve the resolution. I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Okay, I have a motion, I need a second. Ms. Betty has seconded. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. All right, Kevin, the communication tower, please.
Okay. The next item, we discussed this last month. This is the draft lease with Verizon for the communication tower that we're looking to replace our current tower. Current tower is 350 feet. We're looking to actually requesting an increase in the height to 399 feet. And this tower with Verizon is willing to pay $475,000 for a 25-year lease for this. And also, if we're able to get the additional height, we've been talking with the Department of Highway Patrol that they are also interested in locating some of their resources on their tower as well. Last month, there was a question about whether or not we should identify emergency management or emergency responders in the contract. We did have that conversation, and it is the recommendation that we not identify those because that definition could change depending on the event. Rather than rather than defining it as is, it gives us hopefully a little bit more flexibility in the situation of a disaster. We have at each of your locations, there's a paper that has the site plan. Basically, the new tower would go up probably within 50 feet of its current location. You can see on there, the lighter gray is the current towering guidelines, with the darker as the new. So it will not have a significantly different impact on the county facilities. The primary difference, if we're hopefully able to move forward, is we would have an additional height of 49 feet. Verizon would have a building there in addition to new building that we would replace there. But we would actually replace the current shed that we have with a hardened facility, which will make it more durable.
Will the old tower stay?
The old tower would be removed by the same contractor who erects the current. We would put up the new tower, everything is functional, and then the old tower would be disassembled on location.
Any questions or Kevin? Our attorney has looked at all this stuff and is satisfied with it, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this lease.
Second.
Motion. Have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
No, this is just, she's here if you have any questions, but this is something I put in here because you are going to get some questions about it. Last month, the state did, because of the government shutdown at that point in time, they went ahead and preloaded the February benefits on February SNAP benefits. People are still calling them food stamps. So people receive their benefits January 20th to the 25th. So they will not be receiving their benefits this week because they have already received them in advance. So you are going to have people who are going to ask you about them. Their benefits were just received early. They will not get their benefits again until March.
How did the shutdown impact people applying for?
None.
So there's no emergency food stamps around, that's it.
No, it's just your standard. There's no disaster. There's no emergency. This is just a standard program to state because they did not know how the federal shutdown would, how long it would last, and how long it impacted. They went ahead and used the funds.
They didn't get it, they didn't get it.
Exactly.
Other states get
It's 50/50.
That's just information.
That's just information.
Any questions?
All right.
Okay. All right. Animal control information. Jim, are you going to do that? or-
Yes, sir. I'll do that. I did have a number of people who said, yeah, I'll come and I'll be happy to talk about it, do a presentation. And my advice to everybody was no. The board gave specific questions last month, so I tried to accumulate the data and put it back to the board so you have some, you have to have a hefty portion of the agenda, which has animal control information in it. There's a lot of information there to digest. And believe it or not, I did truncate some of that information. But with it, because this was just a summary, information from our 911 center, in calendar year 2018, they received over 1,200 animal control calls or animal complaints. These went from anything to, I have cockroaches, to black bears, stray dogs, everything in between. Snake, of which 346 were determined by 911 to be an actual county issue, and those were dispatched. 181 of those went to the health department, 174 went to the sheriff's department. They do have a decision matrix on how that really handles. The health department also received an additional 2,114 calls into the health department for animal control issues as well. Again, I would imagine a number of those on a very wide variety of issues. You have a breakdown of responses, you have after-hour call logs, as well as information provided from the Humane Society, the Sheriff's Department, as well as the Health Department. My recommendation to the agencies, because we did meet 2 weeks ago, was that I was going to present this information to the board, and if you wanted to go into further detail, I would recommend you consider that for a retreat item or have more discussion. And if you have any other
McCall
questions.
asked for a specific from the sheriff about how do other counties do it.
I did.
Did we get anything?
Okay, right now it's actually a wide variety. I believe there were 29 other counties, which is under Sheriff's Department. There are, as well as basically, you have a third that's under the Sheriff's Department, closer, probably 40% that's under the Health Department, and then you have some that are their own departments, but the primary is Sheriff or Health Department.
If it's its own department, is it public?
It is public, but it reports to the county manager, and I am against that. It's the county. It is still a county department.
So it's still,
Yes.
Yeah, there's some.
so it's like 30% law enforcement and 70% county in various.
Yes.
But that's probably a much bigger department too.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And there are aspects that are very clear that the health department, the health director is responsible for, especially with rabies. It doesn't matter what department or how it's handled, the health director is always going to be responsible for that aspect. Yeah, yes, quarantine. But where animal control is inside of the county structure, the legislation is silent.
All right, I have some questions on this sheet. It says total calls for 2018. I don't know if you have that slide, but it was in the packet that emailed.
Which call was that now?
It starts off with total number of calls in 2018. And the question was, do you have that? Can't remember.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't have it as a slide, but I've got it.
But the numbers, along with the Excel worksheet, and these numbers aren't matching up. And in one instance, it's pretty far off. So my question is are we talking about, other than where it's specifically noted here, and I don't know who did this, so are we talking about calendar 2018 and all these numbers?
These are all calendar 2018.
Okay, because, so, the first line is 2,114 calls, January 18 to December 18, 2,114 calls. This log says adds up to 3,362 during that calendar. And then that rolls into the same thing when it says how many calls physically responded to, not phone calls, 2,961. Well, how did we answer that many calls if we only had 2,114? You see where I'm getting at?
Yes.
It's, the numbers are confusing me.
I'll get you a better narrative on how those roll in together.
Right, that was my question about all of it.
I think it has to do with what comes to the health department, what went to both.
Well, and that could be, that very well could be. I was just, when it started off, total number of calls 2018, but then it goes down and lists some 17 numbers and all that too. So I sat down with my handy dandy calculator and just added it up, and it wasn't coming the way these numbers were, so.
I've got a question. My computer went down. There were showing city calls, county calls, and public calls. What is a public? There was a slide that had, in reference to cats and dogs, that it was divided between city and county and public, and I thought, what's public?
City is the law enforcement, animal control inside the city.
Yeah.
County are our animal control officers, and public are private surrender.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so somebody calls.
I find a dog beside the road and I pick it up and take it to the Humane Society.
Okay.
All right, thank you. That had all the other. Okay.
Any more questions? What's the pleasure of the board? Do we want to act on this tonight, or do we want to move to?
I thought Kevin said it's an item for retreat.
Well, that's what I said.
Well, we have all the information, why keep putting it on? We have all the information that we need. Does anybody have any more questions about it? Because I know how I'm going.
I mean, you know, we can do it tonight. I mean, whatever. If that's the pleasure of the board.
You want me to make a motion?
Can I ask one clarifying question on it? And I don't know if you're going down through this Plan A and Plan B thing that we've got here that was submitted. But if we do a Plan B or a Plan, either one of them, should this be identified, and this is more of a financial thing, I know there needs to be a transition time, but is it something that we should make that transition, wait till the new budget's effective instead of trying to calculate, or is that a big deal to you?
Actually, if you wanted to make a transition, I would recommend you wait until the new calendar year.
Right.
Calendar
or fiscal?
Fiscal year, sorry. There are going to be some budgetary
That's kind of the thing I thought there would be a nightmare to try to figure out how much do you take out of here and put there.
That is not as difficult, but there would also be changes to the animal control ordinance that would have to be made.
Oh, yeah.
And that would take some time to realign the animal control ordinance. That would take.
And that's just thinking if that were to go, it would be
Yes.
with a caveat that it'd be done at the beginning of the next fiscal
It
year.
wouldn't happen tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd have to be July, right?
Yes.
Can I make a motion now?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion.
I make a motion that the two officers, I think the two animal control officers, right, remain under the auspices of the health department.
You've heard the motion. We have a second.
I got a second.
And have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of leaving animal control, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase this,
Okay.
under the jurisdiction of the health department, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
No.
Aye. You said nay. You got that, Ken? All right, then the animal control will remain as it is.
Bob, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Since this is the second time this has come before the board in the last 2 years, I'd like to make a request or direct our manager that we hear back from the health department in a year and from law enforcement in a year on how this is going. And if our citizens are being served and if complaints are still coming in, and request that the health department, animal control, develop a plan with the Humane Society to make sure that we can increase satisfaction and good service to our citizens about animal control. Because we don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Ms. Patterson, you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think this is about a department or an employee or anything. I think this is what's best for the county.
Right.
And as long as we're doing it that, doesn't matter who does it.
Right.
But I think sometimes we forget to get a report back in a year on something that we've taken action on. And I think it'd just be worthwhile to hear how it went in the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the property tax certification. Kevin, you again?
Yes, sir. With this, last month we did have a resolution to require property tax certification before the Register of Deeds could accept a deed to be recorded, which would finalize property transfers. This was a legislative goal of the county, of the board. Last year we did receive legislative authority to do this. You had a draft resolution presented last month, but it was recommended that it be considered and brought back up this month for considering passing and also selecting a potential start date.
Just in addressing to Mr. Johnston, what is, and I think we may have had this conversation, what's the potential drawback of passing this resolution? Is there one?
I believe that it will, not looking at it from the standpoint of revenue collections, because I think that's probably one of the main goals is to, help with that. But from the standpoint of deed preparations, there may be some additional time and expense involved with it, which might translate into some additional cost for the individuals doing the deeds, engaging with. And I've spoken with the Register of Deeds about it, and I think he's spoken with some of the attorneys. If the board decides to do this, I would suggest you push the start date out a while to let folks become aware of the fact that it's going to be done.
I believe Mr. Brad had a couple comments the last time. Is there anything else you want to tell us, any other conversations you've had with the board?
Can I speak from back here, or do I need to go over there?
We can hear you.
Or come have some.
So one hand motion, I'll go on. I think there are some concerns that there are some specific situations where this might be a detriment to people. If somebody is trying to do some kind of estate planning almost, that there's some situations along there, or if you've got a piece of property that's been divided into 64th interest because it's been passed down from family member to family member. But I think those are kind of on the margins and not something that's going to impact lots of people. I think last time I mentioned that Richmond County had this policy and then abandoned it, but I found out afterwards that was not the case. They actually had a different sort of policy in place that I would not recommend this board pursue.
Okay, so but they do not have this policy in place either?
Correct.
Okay.
Hey Kevin, this resolution evolved from the situation we had last year, Mr. Kevin?
Yes, sir, that was a primary example of it, because we had someone who who purchased property that was already in foreclosure, and it was done without a title search, which meant that as soon as the deed was recorded, all of which was done properly, but basically as soon as the property was legally his, he was served with a foreclosure notice immediately.
Thank you, Mayor. That was one of the
There was
decided.
an event, this is an event that we have, okay.
And seeing it's the only fair way to do it, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, why should you pay for somebody else's? Right, and
Thank you, sir.
All right, what's the wishes of the board?
I move that we pass this resolution.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gibson and a second by Commissioner McFadden that we approve this resolution. Any questions?
Do you have a tentative start date? Mr. Johnson?
Do you have a recommendation?
I would put you on one.
Is that far enough out?
I think it is, and I think the assistance of the Commissioner Division will circulate that information and be helpful.
Would July 1 be far enough out, Paige?
I believe so. I think that would give the attorneys time to build in the, kind of the extra time into their billing structures.
Would that give you all time to set up whatever you need between the tax office and the rest of the deeds too, if there's anything you need to coordinate or?
We've already been working towards that, so I think it should be a fairly quick implementation.
The motion would include effective date July 1, 2019.
Good. Clarence, you good with that?
Good with that.
All right, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right. Work session together.
Okay, work session, we did poll the commissioners, and right now we've, February 19th was the best we could get for the most commissioners at any point in time. Recommended February 19th at 9 o'clock at the Morgan Center, which is, it would be the conference room near my office.
Not behind, at your office.
Yes, it would be at my office.
Anyone have any problem with that?
what's before the day, a day session?
It would start at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Yep.
and it would go probably most of the day.
9 o'clock, all right for you, Ms. Betty, or you
No,
rather do it
sir, I
yourself?
prefer 9:30, but if I have to, I'll try to be there. You wake me up.
Okay.
9 o'clock at
9 o'clock at the Morgan Center.
February 19th.
Kevin's office, February 19th. All right. Item number 12.
I don't know what day, but.
All right. Clerk to the
Okay. Well, and also did have an agenda items that are, that I currently have on the agenda for that. If there are any other items that you wish to have added to or removed, please let me know. I will remove animal control. But I do expect a full day.
Well, you know, I did mention something, I don't know how you would write it out, but just kind of reminiscing about things that happened during our storm surge and how we can have the right dialogue and the right just information how to deal with the situation when we are called upon to answer questions about the storm. And now with this other group coming forth, it'd be a good time to make, see if this is going to be relevant to to help us with the situation in the county. So I would think something in the retreat concerning that the storm and try to include whatever they're going to present, okay?
And that was already part of what I'm putting in there in the continued storm impacts. So we look at that and also start planning for communication and public information for our next emergency situations.
Okay.
The courthouse needs, that's the item that you and I talked about.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, just a quick update on the clerk to the board. We did offer a position, and it was accepted. Oh, good, I do have the name on there, so I don't have to make it up. Jason Robinson has accepted the position, and he will begin February 18th. Actually on that date, I'll probably give him about 2 meetings worth of minutes to prepare. And fortunately, it is also the day before our work session. So that's another reason why the work session is on the 19th instead of the week before. I expect his first week to be busy.
Yeah, I want to remind you, you said that you're going to do this package. If you did all this work yourself, I really admire you. That's as serious a lot.
Yes. I appreciate that.
No, his effective date, the board appointed,
the board, I'll actually probably request at the retreat that the board make him deputy clerk. As we did last time with Travis, we'd probably not make him the actual clerk until his 1-year probation is up, but making him your assistant clerk would give him the ability to serve. So at least in the 1-year interim, I would still be technically the clerk.
you envision him in your absence being able to sign?
Yes. And that's why he would be the assistant clerk, so if I'm not available, that would still function.
And he's already certified?
Yes. Yes. He will be able to hit the ground running very quickly. Once he is made permanent, would actually come to the board, request that he be made clerk, and at that point in time, part of it would also be that I may be made the assistant clerk, or someone else would be made an assistant clerk, so we have more than one person with that ability.
Any more questions for Kevin along that line? You do remember his name now?
I do sometimes. It takes me a little bit of time.
Yeah. You want to call him Travis?
No, actually, I've been calling him Nancy.
No, we're going to call him Ann.
Nancy. Nancy will work.
Yeah.
He's from Yancey County.
Yes.
Carol?
Yes, we did. We had a vacancy on the Aging Advisory Council, an application that you have a copy of in your packet from Naomi Saper. Has been presented to us this time. I'll make a motion that we appoint Ms. Saper to the Aging Advisory Council.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay. All right, Kevin.
Okay. Try to make this brief. Of course, follow-ups with the flooding summit that was held at Senator McInnes's request for January 22nd. We did have approximately 10 agencies attend that meeting. Just for follow-up, actually that week, DOT came in, and McLeod Road, of course, was unpassable for postal and school buses. DOT came in and has made a temporary solution to that road, so it is currently passable. Also, the emergency watershed, or the watershed program that we've been working with, they were back in the county today doing additional follow-ups. We do have 11 sites that are being considered across the county for erosion mitigation. So that process is still ongoing. And depending on, that one will be impacted if we wind up with another federal shutdown. That program was able to continue to go through the last, but don't know if they will be able to survive the next one without a delay.
Would you explain that a little bit more?
Okay. This program is for erosion where there was a washout along a creek or spillway that was just blown out or just washed away. The city of Laurinburg is also applying under this grant, but they have their own programs. But what we've been looking at is focusing. Of course, there are a lot of farm ponds that were damaged during this, but we're looking at those that probably started on private property but are threatening public property. They're threatening a road. Like one of them that I had a conversation with today is actually a larger lake, 50-acre lake, but it's right near 501. So that's one of the ones we're being considered, or we're looking at, as long as a number of other areas that we're looking at near roads that actually during the storm contributed to the roads being blown out. So we're looking at going in and finding solutions. They're looking at the federal and state soil and water people are in looking at possible solutions. Directions. Yes, sir. That's one of them. John's mom. So they're looking at possible solutions that can help repair the erosion damage that was done during the storms and also mitigate any future events. This is we'll probably bring this up at the retreat, or hope to bring this up at the retreat if we have some more information back on the 11 properties, because this is a 75-25 match. So the federal government will provide 75% of the funding for this, but the county will have to provide the additional, or local sources will have to provide the additional 25%.
So how much is the grant requested?
We don't know the totals. They're working on those now. Basically, this is, they have a federal maximum, but how that's going to be allocated is not determined yet. But with it, they're making situations where, the property owner is willing to participate in this, and if the property owner shares in the cost, that would count towards the match as well. Especially if the property owner was interested in restoring damage to a level higher than what the county is interested in doing. Because our goal is to make sure that lives and public property is not damaged in future events versus private interests may want a higher level. So if you owned a pond and it was one of the ones that was through it, you may want it done at this level. But we're saying we'll do here, if you're willing to cover those differences, we can look at adding those in.
I think a good example of that, or a good illustration, is what happens to X-ray ponds when it washed out. And the government came in there and did a partial thing to help it and then build it back nowhere near what it was. But it at least kept the water.
Right. So, and the people who are in the field today were well versed in that arena. So, but they're going to be giving us additional cost estimates. They're going to attach a cost estimate to each of the programs, then bring them back to us, and they will say which ones do or do not qualify for the program, and then they will ask us to prioritize those projects.
Do you know what, if any of this relates to the issues of family?
St. Andrews, I know St. Andrews was one of the properties that we identified. I'm not certain if it is one of these 11 or if it was another.
I've heard that it is, but I'm not 100% sure of that now, but I've heard that St. Andrews is one of the 11.
And we're talking about is the spillway on the very back side of Catherine, which most people have never seen. Yes. Also, been working a lot with Senator McInnes's office. We've been talking daily on this issue for since the summit. I have a draft mitigation grant that I'm working with. I'll be talking again probably tomorrow with the governor's budget office, and we'll be looking at pushing that grant, getting that grant final approval, hopefully, or application in this week, and we'll be looking at developing policies and procedures. I'll be getting with you in the short term and giving additional information as we're developing it. But part of this is we are looking at some private properties that are still flooded out, that are not habitable, that we are doing assessments on whether or not they are structurally sound or not, in addition to being uninhabitable. And in this situation, a house might be structurally sound, but if it has a well and a septic system, but they have 2 inches of water across their entire yard, that well and that septic system is not going to work, so they can't live there. Versus a house that has 2 inches of water surrounding it, but if they're on municipal water, municipal sewer, and they have above ground electrical service, the house is livable. So, but we are going to be working on those programs. I just don't have full details at this point in time to provide.
And I was really glad to see Senator McGinnis come forward and work with the county. I think it was a great thing.
And also, I did speak with Representative Pierce today. He is also working at a different angle to find ways of getting additional manpower in for some potential areas where we can do some ditch clean outs and some other things that will help on some areas as well. The next item, it's time again for the Chamber State of the Community Forum. This year is going to be on March 1st at 8 o'clock. I think breakfast will begin at 7:30. This is being hosted this year at Scotia. This year, in the past, we've done presentations from an economic developer, the city manager, and myself. This year, we're changing it up to be more of a panel discussion. So if there are specific topics of interest and concern, please let me know, that Chris English at the Chamber know, so we can start making sure that we're focusing on areas of that's going to be most beneficial.
This may be a good opportunity. I mentioned to you about Scotland County, status being, having the lowest income, family income, and health issues, and that the survey that was put out. Not a survey, but it's, so this may be a good time to kind of get somebody to look at why are we the lowest? What could we do ever? Is there anything we could ever do to up our status, for the income level of our citizens, or the other issues, health issues, and the whole survey or whatever, the whole report that came out, we need to take a look at and see what is maybe causing this here, or is anything if ever the county can do to pull up our stats. Because I'm kind of embarrassed sometimes when I hear.
I understand. We can get some of the state statisticians in who can actually give some background and some of those details. The Department of Commerce, they have people who can look at, who can give you some of the economic reports or some of the what's behind the numbers. And I would imagine DHHS has similar capacity as well that we can provide for both of those. The last item, and this was received after the agenda was put together and sent out. Do have a request from the City of Laurinburg or Laurinburg Fire Department for the July 4th fireworks display. Of course, they are required by state law to make the request of the county commissioners to be allowed to have a fireworks display. And again, this is an annual request. The recommendation is approval of the display.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right. Any other comment?
That is it. Commissioner comments and closed session.
Ms. Betty, you got anything else?
Well, I just like to say that this is Black History Month celebration, and there will be activities going on throughout the county, and hopefully, as commissioners, we'll be able to attend some.
Clarence?
No, sir.
Again, would like us to remember Mr. Alford this week. Have a minute or two, reach out to us. All right, Kevin, you fill in the statute Mr. Board in closed session to consult with our attorney.
I will make the motion to go into closed session.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second, a motion and a second, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we proceed to go into closed session. April.
Celebrate my birthday was a weekend, so this got me behind. Yeah, this is Saigon and at what is that place in Durham, that big think house. And then this weekend, my daughter gave me a birthday party at the house of and so they gave a surprise birthday party Saturday. So I said, well, and the pastor came up all the time on Sunday, so I feel like I'm behind with everything. That was appreciated. It doesn't always happen like that.
Maybe here for 10 o'clock. I came in here when you somebody told me.
I told him, yeah, I'm going to work. I hear you.
Really good place.
Well, thank you for missing me.
You
wasn't gone long.
Hey, Betty, you're not
I'll be
coming?
right back. I'm going to the ladies' room. Go, carry on, carry on.
I started every meeting with them. How would you love a fire? I would have fired me all the time.
How you doing?
How you had a few more.
I'm not sure.
Get food?
I know, I've got no.
Information, yes.
Yeah, Michael, so,
It was not.
deal what?
Kevin, you plan on